Hey guys, my name is Wilson. Today we're going to be going over the top 5 most profitable business ideas in 2020.
Hello guys, this is the Ignorant Entrepreneur. I would just like to introduce you to Wilson K. Lee, an award-winning top 30 under 30 business strategist, digital marketer, and brick and mortar development expert helping business owners and entrepreneurs create explosive food and beverage businesses. Without further ado, I'll let him take the show.
The 5th most profitable business idea in 2020 are plant-based vegan restaurants, okay? We're talking about a plant-based restaurant that, 5-10 years ago, no one has even thought of creating because there's just not much of a demand for it. It's just not the cool thing to talk about. People are less health conscious about what they put in their body. But in today's age, it is definitely gaining a ton of steam. A lot of celebrities are jumping on the train right now. People like Beyonce, people like Brad Pitt, they're really vocal in terms of their support in plant-based diet. And even for like ice cream, plant-based ice cream has increased more than 25% year over year. Chains have plant-based options. They have vegetarian options like Beyond Meat. They have meat substitute, which is crazy, and this is something that is unheard of even just 3-4 years ago. So in today's age, I know it's in its infancy still, very infancy, but if you have the passion to actually love the substitutes, love plant-based stuff, and really being an advocate of this industry, then this is still a very profitable idea that you can actually go in during the beginnings and to be able to reap the rewards from years from today, because people who are in this trade, people who are passionate about it, are gonna love what you have to offer. On the con side, this is still very beginning, as I was saying, that you're not gonna be able to hit the masses. You're not gonna be able to hit the mainstreams. However, once again, if you're passionate about this, then it is completely fine. It is a very good model that you can actually be able to benefit from. The 4th most profitable business idea in 2020 are food trucks. Food trucks are definitely making a comeback. Food trucks, I would say right now, is definitely gaining a lot of steam because people are supporting local small businesses. They're getting back into the trend of these specialty items, and they love it, and they have no problem going outside, waiting in line in the rain for a good food truck taco, okay? This is definitely getting a comeback, and a lot of pros with this is the fact that you can actually go to your customers versus a ghost kitchen, which is delivery only service. You can actually go to your customers, you can go to different locations in town who has an appetite for your food offering. Another pro of food truck is the fact that the investment is substantially lower than a brick and mortar store. The investment is somewhere around $100,000 to $200,000, and in turn you actually own this asset that you can sell in the future, versus you being strapped down into a physical location to a 5-year lease, 10-year lease, and that itself is a huge commitment that not a lot of people like. This itself becomes a very good business model that fits a very specific type of people that can drive around. They're not honed and they're not held down by this physical location. Oh, and an added tip with food trucks is the fact that they can run to a lot of different events, and usually at events they are the most popular item, because that's the only choice that they have, and in turn food truck owners see a certain spike, and this becomes part of their business model that they can go to different events because those are guaranteed traffic and in turn guaranteed business for them. Now, on the flip side, the con is the fact that you're always on the road. It's very difficult to be on the road. It is very exhausting because you don't have a physical location which you can just go in and clock in and clock out, because you're always chasing after that business. On another note, the con is the fact that weather might be a concern. If the weather in your area is always raining, then it becomes a half a year operation. So in Vancouver, food trucks are super popular during the summertime, whereas the wintertime, right now it's snowing outside, and the food trucks are all out of commission, and that in turn limits the amount of days that you can be in operation and the quality and the service that you can provide to your customers. People might think that you're not as relevant, and that itself is a con of this business model. Oh, and something that I totally forgot, and thank you Jason for reminding me, are the licenses. Licenses are usually super confusing, and within any city and any jurisdictions, they have only a certain amount of permits that they allow people to operate in. You oftentimes need to go and apply for them, and oftentimes there are quotas that you need to apply for, which at the end of the day makes it super confusing, and in turn turns a lot of people away from the food truck business. So nonetheless, that's a really big con, is that it's not something that you can apply for and get right away. There are quotas and there are city permits that you need to go through the hoops in getting. The third most profitable business idea in 2020 are delivery only restaurants, aka known as ghost restaurants, virtual restaurants, cloud kitchen, whatever the case may be. These models are basically restaurants with no physical storefront. We're talking about only working out of a commercial kitchen, and people are commissioning out and working out with third-party delivery apps such as Skip the Dishes, Grubhub, Postmates, Uber Eats, all these different delivery services to distribute their meals. This is a very, I guess, like new business model that is like gaining tons of steam. Even the ex-CEO of Uber, Travis, has raised more than $400 million creating their own cloud kitchen to be able to service this type of business model. Now, the pros of running this model, there's just so many pros. You know what, at the end of the day, you don't need to go through the huge investment of buying your own equipment, to go through all the licensing, to go through the food safety requirements, to understand how the nuances of building out your own kitchen. You don't need to understand none of those. All you need is to go through this kitchen, and it's already all provided for you. You don't need to get your own food license. You don't need the major investment that you're gonna be able to throw up front just so you can build a restaurant. And the second pro of running a delivery only service restaurant is that you avoid all the headaches with staffing, the front of house staffing. All you need to worry about is production. All you need to worry about is maintaining your operation and the quality of your food service and your food product. That itself is a huge pro. And another pro of delivery only restaurant, this is a very specific pro for this type of business model, is that you're not married to your business, okay? You don't need to sign a 5-year, 10-year lease into a physical location, which at the end of the day, you might hate, okay? All you have to do is sign a lease with a cloud kitchen and you're good to go. Now, the cons of this super crazy good model is the fact that your restaurant has no visibility. You cannot bank, and you have much less creativity that you can play because you're relying on third-party apps and delivery services. On the same note of actually relying so heavily on these apps is the fact that all your eggs is in one basket. All your eggs is in this one basket, and you cannot diversify because they are the lifeline of your business. Food delivery apps now controls your destiny, and in turn, if any given day they change their policy, they increase their rates, or they decide to favor specific brands, then you are in trouble. And last but not least, you do not control your customers. All your customers belong to food delivery apps. This is something that I really do not like, because this doesn't give me the freedom to reach my customers. This doesn't give me the freedom to be able to own my customers, because once again, we're at the mercy of these food delivery service apps, and that's something that I really don't like. But nonetheless, the pros of it is that far outweighs the cons, and this is the third most profitable business ideas out there in 2020. Let's jump into the second most profitable business idea in 2020. And the second most profitable business idea in 2020 are ramen joints. Ramen joints are still super popular. It has become one of the most, I guess, up and coming food staple item out there. All the places, different places that I've been traveling to, ramen is picking up in popularity in very rapid pace. And what does that mean? That means that there's a lot more opportunity for you to be able to take advantage of this phenomenon. Ramen joints, super high in popularity. With ramen joints, they have much more opportunity and much more margins for error and margins for, let's say, spending into marketing costs. And in turn, if and when you can run a ramen joint with the same popularity and the same amount of traffic going into your joint, your profitability would go up substantially higher as well. Another pro for running a ramen joint is the talent required. A talent required is very different from running a full-scale restaurant, because a lot of ramen joints, they are actually franchises. A very special thing about ramen joints is their etiquette, okay? Every time I go to Japan, I go there, there's no reservation. You need to stand outside, line up, and when it's your turn, you have to order one ramen at the very minimum, okay? So if you're taking up a seat, you have to order. This etiquette and this cuisine is not meant to be shared. It's not meant for you to be able to spend hours at this place to socialize. No, it's not like that. You go in, you finish your meal, and you go. So if you are asking me, I'm going to tell you the second most profitable business idea in 2020. What is it? They're ramen joints. Now, after raving all about ramen joints, I know there are tons of cons as well. You still need to invest in the proper stove and actually hooded fans and all these full-scale restaurant items, right? But nonetheless, the investment itself might not be suitable for everyone, so it requires much more higher in budget, okay? And another cons of running a ramen joint is a lot of people that get into the ramen business, they have to buy franchises because this is a very niche and very, very specific item. And what does that mean? You need to pay an upfront franchise cost, you need to pay ongoing royalties, but with that, it comes with their support. So this might not be a model that's suitable for everyone. Nonetheless, it is still a super profitable idea out there. And last but not least, another con is that the labor that is required to run a ramen joint is still, I would say, a second tier of talent that is required. Nonetheless, this is still a very, very profitable idea out there in 2020. The number one most profitable business idea in 2020 is still a bubble tea joint. It is because it is still super, super popular. I think this thing has become just a phenomenon and a habit for people to take on. For those of you that do not know what bubble tea is basically an Asian dessert drink with tea-based with tapioca on the bottom, something that's very chewy, and it has ridden a huge wave, and even today in 2020 it is still super, super popular. Now, on the same note, the pros of having a bubble tea joint is the low barrier to enter and the low investment. Why is it low investment? It is because the equipment that is needed is bare to nothing compared to a full-scale restaurant. All you need is shaker, a syrup dispenser, an ice machine, and a cooler, and you're good to go. Now, after all the rave about bubble tea, there are tons of cons of this business model. First of all, it is super, super competitive, okay? Me walking down our street in Vancouver, there's always going to be more bubble tea shop than 7-Elevens out there. It is a fact, and it has become one of the staple items in Vancouver. What does that mean? That means competition is just furious. Now, the second cons of running a bubble tea joint is the low ticket item, okay? It is a very, very low ticket item. And what does that mean? A low ticket item means that you need to run the volume game. You need to sell a ton in order for your math to make sense. In a bubble tea environment, at most, you're only selling 1 or 2 bubble teas at what, $6 a drink. Whereas, let's say in a full-scale restaurant, anyone that goes in can go for a ticket price of $50, $60, and in turn you make more money from less people in those restaurant environment, and that itself, you need to make sure that there's high demand for this product before you go into this business model. So there you go, the top 5 most profitable idea in 2020. We're talking about bubble tea joints, ramen joints, food trucks, delivery only restaurants, and last but not least, the plant-based restaurants. These are the most profitable ideas out there amongst all the research that we have done, and at the end of the day, it's not suitable for everyone. You really need to see if it is suitable and it has demand. At the end of the day, it's about the demand in your area. If there's no demand, there's no need to create something like this.